There is an update on Nancy Guthrie's case. So I have the clip right here from an official news source. So let's take a look.
Haven't determined yet if the alleged ransom notes were real, and now these images are the first sign of a possible break in the case. Let's get to ABC's chief investigative correspondent, Aaron Kaczorski. Aaron, what do we know about these images so far?
They appear to come from the doorbell camera here at Nancy Guthrie's home that had been tampered with, according to the FBI. And if you look at these images that appear in black and white, Diane, you see an individual who appears to be wearing a backpack and a mask and gloves. And one of those images, quite up close to the doorbell camera, the FBI says that is the individual tampering with the camera. The FBI says these images were previously inaccessible because the recording device.
We're going to take a look in a second at the face a little closer.
The FBI was able to recover these images. They are not characterizing the individual depicted in the image in any particular way, according to a message posted on social media by FBI Director Kash Patel. Previously, the FBI has said there are no suspects or persons of interest associated with Nancy Guthrie's disappearance. That now may be changed.
I'm going to stop right here. I don't know if you can see this because they're not going to show, I don't believe they show an update of this. So go to ABC and check out these images right here. This is a person in the ski mask, and right here, about a head below that person, through these flowers, you can actually see an eye and a head of a figure. So I believe that would be Nancy right there. And it's obscured by, I think these are flowers or bushes or something like that. But I kept seeing an eye jump out at me. That's a face right there. That's a person. This is a person through the image. Okay. So let's continue here.
Changing with the release of these images, though the FBI is not characterizing the individual depicted, you can see where the individual might be reaching close to the camera with a gloved hand to try and tamper with the camera before making entry. This was shortly,
right here.
Before 2 a.m. at about
1:37
a.m. Mountain Time, according to a previous release.
They're going to show more pictures in a moment.
At 2:12 a.m., a camera inside the house that was not set up to record images was able to detect an individual, an intruder, inside the house. And that's the window when police believe Nancy Guthrie was taken, Diane.
And I want to bring in retired FBI agent and ABC News contributor Brad Garrett. Brad, the FBI director is saying that these images came from back-end data. How does that process work, and how big is this finding?
Well, I think it's a.
I want to go back on that. I want to see if you see what I see. I saw a watch on the person's wrist. Hold on.
That's the window when police believe Nancy Guthrie was taken, Diane.
And I want to bring in retired FBI agent and ABC News contributor Brad Garrett. Brad, the FBI...
Yeah. I think right here, there's something on that person's wrist.
Director saying that these images came from back-end data. How does that process work, and how big is this finding?
Well, I think it's a huge finding. Your answer is how difficult it is. I think the short answer is it depends. But obviously, it took them several days working with, I assume, Amazon, who owns Ring, to come up with these images. But you don't.
His voice gets a little obscure here.
Or characteristics of this picture that I think are unique.
Look at the eyes. Oh, that covers up the eyes, darn it.
I'm going to go back to Aaron on that. Aaron, any more?
The eyes look like female to me. But there looks like to be a mustache.
That they had been working with Google.
If you can see it right here, I don't know if you can see, right above the lip, it's either drawn on to make it look like a mustache, or it's a mustache, but the eyes and the very thin eyebrows give me the idea of feminine, female.
which owns the Nest security system that Nancy Guthrie had
The
installed.
eyes are
The-
very
the
distinct.
statement from
Somebody
Director
should recognize
Patel
this
does not
person.
specifically say which manufacturer, but that's what the sheriff had told us they were working with to try to recover these images on what the authorities say are the back-end systems. So even if the camera wasn't necessarily recording or the recording apparatus was removed, they were still able to recover the images, probably by working with the manufacturer and likely, Diane, with the help of a warrant. So the FBI didn't specifically say, and I'm sure they're not terribly keen to explain how they recovered these images, but they did, and they are now the most important clue that we have seen in the last 9 days. There have been few, if any, leads, no suspects, according to the authorities. And while the individual depicted in a mask and backpack and gloves is not characterized as a suspect, the authorities now have at least one image to go on.
And I want to bring in retired FBI agent and ABC News contributor Richard Frankel. Richard, how big is this development? How significant is this? And where does the investigation go from here?
Yeah, as Aaron just said, this is the biggest development of the investigation, in that they do have pictures now that, while not confirming she was taken, but confirming that there was a masked individual immediately before the time that she went missing. So, as you look at this investigation, it would lead me to believe that this was the person, at least, that was involved in some capacity in the abduction of Nancy Guthrie. And that's just, based upon my observation of what we're seeing.
What do you see?
Also,
Does
as
anybody
far as
notice
that,
anything at
it's a
all in
man,
those
it's a
pictures?
woman,
They're
anything more
asking the
about that.
public for
But you
help.
can see the
So
eyes, you can see a little bit of the mouth. There are also programs out there, AI generated techniques that are available to the FBI and to other law enforcement, that they may be able to start getting more information about who this person is.
look at this, guys. Oh, let me just back this up for a second. Check this out.
Generated techniques that are available to the FBI and to other law enforcement. that
Right here.
They may be able.
You see the nose? I don't know if any of you can, you'll probably have to go to the channel and look at these images up close, but you can see the actual shape of the nose. You can see the jawline right in the front. It's that's kind of like a square jawline. Okay, so you know what's going to happen? They're going to draw a picture of what this person may be looking like. They're totally, they've got all the information right there. It looks like a good head of hair to me also. Okay, let's listen to the rest.
More information about who this person is. They're going to be taking that picture and they're going to be putting it through every single configuration that they have of every database they have.
They've got
if
enough.
there's anything more that they can get from this picture. They're also going to be looking at the clothing. They're going to be looking at everything associated with these pictures to see if there's anything more that can take them to their next lead. But I think this is a great job by the FBI and by law enforcement. They did not just move on from prior leads. They kept working it just like they do on these major investigations, and they were able to come up with this evidence.
And Aaron, they're not calling this person a suspect, but the FBI director does say this person was armed.
And I don't see a specific weapon just looking in the small version of these images, Diane, but that's what the FBI director says. And in looking just at the mask and the gloves and the backpack, and my God, you think how terrified Nancy Guthrie may have been, assuming she confronted this.
And look at the ski mask is very distinct. Somebody looking at these images may even recognize the ski mask.
In her home at about 2 o'clock in the morning, after a game night and dinner with her family at her daughter Annie's house nearby. We know know that the FBI has also been scrutinizing other cameras here at the house. We spotted them on the roof, looking at rooftop cameras that were part of Nancy Guthrie's home security system. So perhaps the hope is they'll be able to recover additional images in addition to the ones that appear to be from the doorbell camera, previously inaccessible to authorities for a variety of reasons, they say. But the hope is to try and build out a much larger profile of this individual. Even though they're not calling the person a suspect, it is the best images.
We'll stop it there. This is, we'll stop it here for a moment. I do believe they go into other news, but it says FBI tip line 1-800-CALL-FBI. So that's super simple. If you know, you kind of get, it looks like a female to me. What does it look like to you? Is anybody in the feed you want to share? I would love to hear what you think. And the Pima County is over in Arizona Sheriff's Department, and that's 520-351-4900. Let's see if they give us any other info. If not, I want to come back and just take a little more detailed look at what this person is looking like.
Nancy Guthrie, Aaron, Brad, Richard, thank you all. And investigators are asking anyone with any information related to this case to call either one of those two tip lines on your screen, and we will have much more on ABC News Live and abcnews.com. And David will be back with the whole team from World News Tonight with more on this story later this evening. I'm Diane Macedo. Right now, we'll return to your regular programming. Have a great rest of the day.
This has been a special report from ABC News.
Diane, thank you. I'm Kira Phillips. Good afternoon, everyone. Rubber gloves, a full mask, and armed, all captured on the Nest Cam. It's the biggest development so far in the search for Nancy Guthrie. Let's get straight to our chief investigative correspondent, Aaron Katursky, who has been on this case for us since it first broke. Aaron,
this is breaking news, guys, on the Nancy Guthrie
that FBI Director
kidnapping
has now put out. What's your sense of what he's saying in particular about this suspect?
This is
armed?
ABC official news station.
Well, we have to take the director's word for it, Kira. I'm only looking on my phone, so tiny squares of images. I don't see a specific weapon, but that's what the FBI director sees in these
Looks
images,
like a woman's
along with the
eyes.
backpack, the
Does it look
gloves,
like that
and the
to you
mask. It
guys?
appears that the individual is trying to tamper
Look
with
at the eyes
doorbell
right
camera.
there. Can you see? The eyebrows are very, very thin. That's the only reason why I'm saying that.
Right,
And
at
the
first,
eyes look
authorities said,
like
Kira,
eyelash
that these
liner.
images were inaccessible to law enforcement. They've been working undoubtedly with the manufacturer, which we believe to be Nest, owned by Google, perhaps with the assistance of a warrant signed by a judge to get access to these images. And they are the first significant clue that we have seen in the last 9 days. And Kira, the other thought, simply looking at
It's
them,
amazing
how
development.
terrifying for Nancy Guthrie if she confronted this individual at about 2 a.m. Mountain Time on the first of the month in her home. This was at about 1:47 a.m. authorities believe, when this individual was disconnecting the doorbell camera, and at 2:12 an indoor camera that was not set up to record nonetheless captured or sensed that there was an intruder in the house. And just a few minutes after that, Nancy Guthrie's pacemaker disconnected from her phone, which was left behind, and it's believed she was abducted.
So, Aaron, so many different pieces of information coming out since this story first broke. So I just want to back up for a minute now that we have these images of this individual there on the doorstep, and it looks like another one of these images showing the suspect.
I'm going to stop it there for a second. Look at the structure of the person. Do you see, they look like a good sized person, but I don't know, can you tell if it's a woman or a man right there? They're definitely not too old, that's for sure. They look pretty like younger and strong, like in their 30s maybe. That's the idea I get.
Maybe trying to disassemble a camera or cut a camera off. do we know, I guess, if anybody was inside the house in addition to this individual we see on the porch, or do we believe that it was one individual acting alone, or do we even know the answer to that yet?
We don't know the answer, Kira. It's possible that this individual was the only other individual besides Nancy Guthrie who was inside that house on February 1st. And maybe there was somebody waiting in a car. Maybe there were a team of people in the yard. We just don't know. We do know that the FBI agents were spotted on the roof of the house in the last couple of days, looking at cameras. Maybe they're trying similar techniques to try and access additional images that would give them the answer. We know that an indoor camera sensed that there was an individual inside the home, but it was not set up to record an image of that individual. So we're not sure. And officially, the FBI is not characterizing the individual depicted in these new images, Kira. The FBI officially has said there are no suspects and no persons of interest. That may be changing now that they have this significant image that the public can now see of a masked, gloved individual with a backpack at Nancy Guthrie's home here.
And just if I need to be corrected, I'm looking through the Pima County Sheriff's Office and the statement.
But also, guys, look how distinct the outfit is that this person has on. Look at the jacket. 2 stripes down the middle, and then a stripe on upper part of the chest. And the backpack is distinctive
I don't see
too.
that they're calling him a suspect. I did say suspect.
Him
Is he
or
a suspect?
her.
Do
That
we
could
know?
be a woman.
We don't know, and neither the FBI nor the Pima County Sheriff's Department characterized the individual in any particular way, other than to say this individual showed up in a mask and gloves and a backpack to tamper with a doorbell camera at Nancy Guthrie's home. So the presumption is that this is a person associated with her disappearance and apparent abduction. The FBI is not saying for sure. I gotta tell you, Kira, I don't know that it matters what we call him. It's the first clue we have had in the last 9 days.
It's the first clue.
Law enforcement
Yeah.
will take it.
Good
And
clue.
now they can run it through various software tools to try and develop a more specific image that the public might be able to
Yeah,
recognize.
you can see the
But
outline of the
certainly they're already
nose
saying,
very
do you
clearly.
recognize the eyes? Take a look. Do you recognize the build?
Yeah.
Is this an individual?
Take a
that
good
you
look,
could
guys.
possibly,
Because
tell
don't
who it is?
forget, this person could be from any state.
Yeah, clearly this is
Doesn't
not
have
someone
to be
delivering Uber Eats
Arizona.
at 2 a.m. You're right. It doesn't really matter. I mean, it's pretty powerful just to see the image in the gloves and the full face mask and boots and a backpack and, going for the cameras. Aaron, appreciate you so much. Stay with me if you can. Let's bring in our retired FBI agent, Rich Frankel. Rich, for days, we've been talking about
Let's take a listen to what
clues,
Rich Frankel
no
has
leads,
to say.
no additional information.
And this is
Does it mean the
ABC
Sheriff's
News
Department is
Live.
keeping things, close to the sleeve, or does it look like they completely botched this and don't have anything? Now we're seeing these images. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I think the fact that it took this long to get these images just goes to the fact that it takes that long. Either, as Aaron said, maybe they had to get warrants, maybe there was some other technical problems or issues that caused them to take this long to get these videos and these pictures. But the fact that they stayed with it and they got
Well, the pictures get buried. That's what happens. Because the camera without a subscription doesn't save them.
Probably or possibly connected to the abduction of Nancy Guthrie. But also, you got to look at the rest of the investigation. We did see the FBI agent on the roof. It appears to get another camera. Why didn't they find that camera earlier? I can't comment on that. I don't know. But they were up there. It appears that they did take a camera off within the last couple of days. And maybe we're going to be seeing more pictures. It's going to take a little bit of time. But the FBI has stayed with it. The Sheriff's Department.
There's another camera down under this side. They must have seen that, and there's another camera. So maybe they just missed the one in the front. There's 3 cameras on the top of her house.
Now he's been on this story from the very beginning as well. So Trevor, I guess folks are trying to figure out how these images have now suddenly appeared when we thought at the very beginning that the cameras were taken, disabled, and that there weren't any images. If we go back to the very first press conference, and correct me if I'm wrong, it sounded like no video had been recorded and that the chance of getting any images was basically slim to none.
Yes, that was our understanding, Kara. So from the very beginning, we learned that there were cameras at this home, which gave everyone some hope that we would get to see what was going on. Then it seemed it was taking some time to get the images. Then they essentially said that the Guthrie family didn't have a subscription with Google Nest. That's who owns these surveillance companies. And so then while they do take some of the footage, it would be deleted very quickly. They were trying to get it recovered. We know the FBI brought in, as part of their task force, experts in data recovery, and it got to the point where it looked
They
like
give
these
you the
images were
option,
lost.
by the
Now,
way,
we don't know 100%
to not
how
get
they
the
were able to
subscription.
obtain
That's
them
why
or
people don't
recover
get
them.
it. That's
A warrant does
happened
seem
to
very
me.
likely, as you can imagine.
And
Often
I
surveillance
noticed
companies are
they
not quick to
only
hand
keep
over
the images
or
a couple of
footage
hours.
after they have told you we're deleting it inside your own home after it is taken. But in this instance, I think you could understand why a judge might say, no, this is relevant to be able to pull this kind of footage. Now, as far as the semantics of whether or not the FBI and Pima County Sheriff's Office in their official statements are calling this suspect, no, they're not using that language. I can tell you a source who is very familiar with this investigation told me ahead of the release, when we were expecting these images, I referred to it as showing a potential suspect, and they said that that was fair language. So at this point, what we all know it to be obvious. This is a person who appears
You
to be
hear
on
how
camera
ethical
tampering
they
with
are.
these
I like
cameras
to hear
the night
things
that
like
Nancy
that.
Guthrie is believed to have been taken from her home.
But
I think
yeah, I
it's
mean, it
obvious
looks
to
pretty
everyone
obvious,
that this
doesn't
is
it?
very
Breaking
possibly
into the
someone who is
home,
directly involved in
I
the
would
case.
say.
This is also, of course,
yeah.
we know this is the first major breakthrough. It's also the first piece of concrete evidence that we have to go off of. For the past 9 days or so, the driving force that we've seen in terms of how investigators have been speaking publicly and how the family has been speaking publicly has been in response to unverified ransom notes, a pair of them which were sent out to media organizations. Those have never been confirmed to be real. It's possible that they are, but it's also possible that they are not. We saw, though, the Guthrie family speaking directly to any potential captors, talking about being willing to pay, anything like that. I think, of course, it speaks to their grief. It speaks to their willingness to try to get information, but it also possibly speaks to their desperation in an investigation that, to that point, had turned up basically nothing. And what I was hearing from investigators through this entire thing is they are chasing down hundreds of leads. They're begging the
Oh, I
public
bet
for
they
information,
are.
but they repeatedly were hitting dead end after dead end after dead end. To get this development now with these still images that they can immediately send out
The
around
thing
the world
is, if you
is
see
going
something
to
and you
substantially
think it's
bolster
suspicious and you don't
their plea to the
report
public
it,
to be on the
then you
lookout
feel
for
bad if
information.
it
Because
could
now
have
when you
been
say,
related.
hey, we're needing information that's going to help Nancy Guthrie, you can show them something tangible to hang on to, as opposed to if you saw something strange somewhere, anywhere in America, or maybe in Mexico, or maybe beyond it. That is a very broad net to cast. This at least can focus the public in a specific direction.
Well, this is,
The problem, of course,
Yeah.
now is we're 9 days after Nancy Guthrie was taken. That is a 9-day head start for the person who took her. If this is the person in these images who did it, they could be anywhere at this point. But of course, this is an immense development in this case. It could be extremely helpful for investigators and the general public in trying to find wherever Nancy Guthrie is.
you see the outfit. Now they can actually determine where the jacket came from. They're going to determine what kind of backpack that is. And like he said, the perpetrator could be anywhere. And you have to remember, Savannah has residence in New York. Cameron, the son, is a Vermonter. He lives here in Vermont, which is what got me interested in covering this case, this information, because and Annie, the other daughter, lives in Arizona, like right up the street from the mother. But Savannah also has a home up the street there. But what I'm saying is that if it was from one of their inner circles, or if this person is, to to me, this is not a professional. This is, I get the feeling, yes, this person has done this before, but it could be someone who knows of them, or at least has been watching them. And so I just say, that's why I say, here in Vermont, Cameron Guthrie has a home. He's a Vermonter. If this is an ex-military guy who knew him or knew of him, I'm just saying it's not. But I'm saying if it was, you know, we'd want to keep our eyes open up here. Or for example, if it's somebody in the television media industry who knows Savannah, you know, or someone in the teaching industry who knows Annie, you know, in their circle is what I'm trying to say. So anyway, I think this is very interesting. Very good pictures. You have a very clear definition of the nose. It seems to be a little curve. There's a curve in that nose. There's a curve. Not a concave, but a curve. Okay, let's see what else he says.
Great reporting, Trevor. Thank you so much. And I want to bring in Brad Garrett. Brad, as a former FBI agent involved in cases like this, I've got two questions for you. The first one is just your overall thought about these images.
Well, I think they're terrific. We started with not having any and thought we weren't going to get any. I'll tell you, Kara, it's not uncommon to have, I'll use the term surveillance photos of people that aren't very good. And many times they have a hood up. In this case, it looks like this guy's got on some version of a ski mask. But there are unique characteristics about this picture.
Oh, he's going to say it now.
As Aaron mentioned, you can see his eyes. There's a possibility around his mouth that there's some facial hair. But what jumped out at me were two things, specifically is the backpack that he had on. Look, all we can see is the straps, of course, but look very different. And then it looks like
distinctive.
he has two
That's what I
lights
was saying.
Attached to the top of the strap of the backpack.
Yeah, right here.
It makes sense, of course, if he's going into a dark house. That also may suggest to me that he didn't drive up to that house. There are these dry creek beds behind Nancy's house that lead to other roads that he may well have walked up one of those trails to get in her house. I'm only saying that is, and my guess is they've done follow-up with this, but to check that out. But those lights on the backpack, and the gloves even
see, he has
somewhat unique
lights.
To me.
He's saying he
So
has
when
lights
people
on
go
his
look at this
shoulder
photograph, you
backpack.
don't want to point out to them some of the things I just mentioned.
That's why he's saying maybe he
This guy may
walked.
have worn that backpack around with those lights on. You know, maybe he hikes a lot. Who knows?
See?
But it would be interesting for, you know, that to be sort of the clincher of at least figuring out who he is. Because my sense is going to be he's the key to this case.
Yeah, it's a great point. When you think of someone and who, you know, maybe more sophisticated thinking about their appearance, a lot of times you see those that have been arrested in images like this in all black, like nothing is recognizable, or there aren't any distinctions. And you've already pulled out a number of different things, from possible facial hair and the eyes to the backpack to the jacket.
It could be
to the
facial
gloves.
hair, it could be painted
Interesting
on.
points. So then let me ask you, considering what you just pointed out, what does the FBI do now? For example, are there ways to look at those gloves more closely or differently, or the jacket or the eyes or the mouth or the facial hair? How does the FBI go about zooming in on these certain distinctive aspects of these images, and not only look at it from an FBI perspective, but also, you know, show the images to the Guthries or people that know Nancy very well? You know, do you distribute it to everyone?
Well, that's the whole key here. The key is wide dissemination. You don't know, obviously, if this guy is from the Tucson area. He could
Or
have
woman.
traveled
Looks like it
into
could
the
be a
Tucson
woman.
area. Now,
So I'm going to stop it there because the news media, they don't like you taking their entire clip. So I'm going to reference you to the ABC News on YouTube. And the name of it is Update in the Search for Nancy Guthrie. And it aired 55 minutes ago. And they did an absolutely, I just love the way they're so respectful. And they, report basically fact, what they know. So I do believe, just looking at this image, it's a very strong possibility. Looking at the eyes look, like I said, I mean, they're very distinctive. The eyes are very distinctive. So if anybody recognizes that person. Now, it also, the outfit and the shape of the person. Now, I'm not going into shapes like for any reason of other than to just describe this person. The shape of this person kind of goes like this. So it's not like straight. So it kind of gives me the idea this is a woman. I kind of get that idea. I don't know. What do you think? Let me know what you think. And I'm just, this is such very good news. And, but it was a woman. I was referencing the case earlier about the woman, she had stolen a baby of they were twins, and she took one of the twins, and I think she took it from the airport or something. She kept stopping at the fast food places. Anyway, I'm just saying she may be in Arizona or she may be on the move. Anyway, with that, thank you so much for being with me today. I feel like this is a super positive, wonderful, advancement in finding Nancy Guthrie. Keep your eyes open, guys. Anything you think, or if you even think you recognize the person, somebody, it doesn't mean that the person has to have exhibited, let's say, symptoms of a mental illness or struggling. It doesn't mean that. It just, if you recognize the person, a lot of times, I mean, you're not thinking with all cylinders, okay, when you kidnap somebody. So this is someone with some issues for sure. So with that, I wish you love and light. And if there's any more new developments, I'll jump on here and try to find something live like that to share with you. So love and light to the Guthrie family. And let's pray for Nancy's safe return, and love and light to you guys. Thank you for being with me.